Whitetail Hill chestnut trees in. So I ordered the Chinese chestnuts as well as the pawpaw trees. All right, pull them out, buddy. Let's see what we got. Be careful with them. Try not to break them off there. Take pretty good to the box, ain't they? Yeah. Okay, so we got our bare root plants. Looks like they've got some pretty good buds on the ends there, which is a good sign. Lots of budding. Pop this open and see kind of what the root system looks like. So this came with the mycorrhizae granules, basically a fungus that that helps trees grow. I know these were prevalent around like oaks and stuff like that. That mycorrhizae be surrounding the trees, and it spreads out and it kind of helps the roots to absorb the nutrients, is kind of the way I understand it. I just put basically 1 tablespoon in each tree, and hopefully that will kind of give it a little boost. So I'm just going to start unwrapping these roots, and I'm going to see how dry they are. And if they're too dry, I'm going to add just a little bit of water, and then I'm going to wrap them back up until I am ready to plant. Because what you don't want to do, as it states in the packaging, is you don't want to get the roots dry, even just for an hour or two, and it can kill the plant. They don't want to be exposed to air at all for very long. Not too bad. I'm just going to mist them just a little bit, and I'm going to wrap them back up, and hopefully they'll be ready to plant. That'll get them by until I can plant them. You don't want them completely saturated, just want to keep them moist. Wife's helping me today. I thought she was going to help me plant trees, but she's actually just came to steal all my plants that were around this old farmstead. I mean, I only have 5 of the chestnuts. So if I do 3 along the fence line right there, and then 1 right there and 1 right there, that tree's going out, and so that'll be a little chestnut grove. And then it's not too close to the road, because I don't want, you know, if I'm going to have deer underneath of them eating, I don't want it to be too close to the road. I want them to have some cover.
Build a house back on there.
Yeah, I want them to have a little bit of cover and protection from the road, and where they feel safe enough to come out and eat. I think I'm just going to use that hurricane digger and go down a little bit, and then I'll dig it out a little bit around. I don't know how big the roots are going to spread, but I think I'll use that at least to get the depth down. So these need 30 feet space all around. So these trees are a little close, but I'm going to be cutting these trees out. So we'll have 1 here. So we're going to definitely have to protect these, because being out in the middle of the field like that, bucks are going to see that and they're just going to have to rub on them. So we're going to have some protection. Going to have a fence around them. And these are not really cheap. So I definitely want to try to keep them protected. So here's the pawpaw, and here's our chestnuts. Not super big. All right, get them out of the bag here. What I don't want to do is expose these roots to air. They need to be kept covered and protected until they are in the ground. So we'll start with our first one here, sort of untangle our roots. I'm just going to actually leave these in the bag until we're ready to put them in. I have my holes dug, so I'm just kind of getting an idea how big the roots are. So that hurricane digger will go down plenty deep, but I think I'm going to have to widen it out with my shovel. So let me kind of make sure that I got my measurements all good here. So I'm going to just kind of loosely walk it off. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want them at least 30 feet apart would be ideal. I want to give them optimum growing space. So like I said, I'm taking these trees all out here eventually. They will be dead. They're not going to take any nutrients from this chestnut here. All right, so the first one's going to go right here. I just want it a little far away from the fence, and we'll just kind of walk it off here. All right, so we're talking about right. I'll probably squeeze them in just a little bit closer, won't hurt too bad. So I want to put the next one right here. It's roughly 20 feet. About right in here is where I want this other one. Perfect. Get about 5 feet or 6 feet off that fence line. And then we've just got 2 more. So I'm gonna try to make it even with this one over here. Just aesthetically, I mean, clearly it doesn't matter for the deer doesn't care really where it is, but I do. So we're gonna kind of try to keep it like a little aesthetically appealing, kind of lined up. I'm gonna go roughly 18 inches in the ground, though, looks like, so that it has plenty of space, loose soil, so that taproot can go down into the dirt, gather them nutrients up. Got the pawpaw trees. We have additional pawpaw trees, ordered 25 from the conservation department, which are considerably smaller. They're only saplings, only about that big, with roots. They like well-drained soil, but they like a lot of moisture, and they can also tolerate a lot of shade tolerance. So I kind of put them in this little it's a little opening, but it's definitely not going to receive a bunch of sunlight. And since they're so small, I just drilled these little bitty holes. That thing has that auger on there, that bit. It goes pretty far down in there, and so hopefully that I can stick that taproot and then kind of just waller out a little bit of this with the shovel, and that way them roots can spread out a little bit, and hopefully we have a pretty high survivability. So I put a whole bunch of these holes, so hopefully these pawpaw trees will like it in here, and they'll stay wet, stay well watered. They'll be protected from the sun a little bit because they don't like full sun. They like to be a little in the shade. Seems like they grow better as an understory plant, but throw those pawpaws in there, and not only will that give something for the deer to eat, but it'll also give something for us to eat if there's any left. So these deals I got off of Amazon, put a link in the description if you want to check them out and interested. So this goes at the base of the tree, and what it's supposed to do, obviously it's supposed to protect from little critters like rabbits, rodents, you know, mice, stuff like that, from gnawing at the bark. The stuff that can basically get underneath or inside of the bigger cages I'm gonna put around them. Hopefully this will put a stop to them gnawing at that bark. But what's supposed to happen is as this tree grows, these are supposed to adjust, right? So you can adjust to where you want, where it protects that bottom layer. And then here at the bottom, these will come out, so like the root ball gets bigger or whatever at the base, and so it's not going to be trapped, you know, it'll be able to spread that out. And as the tree grows bigger and bigger, you can adjust this, and it gets, by the time it's this big, it's probably going to be okay. But if not, you can always put something else on it. But I thought I wanted to give them the best chance at survival. These had a pretty high rating, and we're just going to see how they do. All right, ready to set the first one in. Might have to grab the shovel and do a little bit more digging, actually. What are those, daffodils or irises? Right on. Just a digging fool, aren't you?
They're everywhere.
Can I borrow this shovel for just a second? So I just want to widen this top part up. I want to give plenty of room for these roots to branch out as much as they need to. So there's a lot to planting a tree. I never did realize. Planted a lot of trees, and a lot of them have lived and a lot of them have died. And so I started to do a lot more research on what makes it like that. And sometimes it's just chance in the soil, and there ain't a lot you can do about it, but you can sometimes improve the soil. So I stumbled upon this thing called the Ella White method. Okay, so what this kind of consists of is, so this chick, and I don't know a lot about her, this was named kind of after her. So this is way in a nutshell. Like, this is a very condensed, I only picked out what I needed to know information out of, cherry picked it for myself. Okay, so what she was, you know, basically trying to teach, I guess, is kind of that a tree does best you know, in a place where, you know, trees do best. So like in the forest, right? So what you want to do, a lot of people just go out into a lawn or like a cow pasture or something that they're trying to convert into a forest, you know, reforestation, whatever you want to call it. So they're out there just throwing these trees inside of this stuff, but they don't necessarily contain all the right nutrients. So what she was suggesting, and what the science is kind of suggesting, is that you know, having sort of trying to copy what you have on the forest floor is very conducive to having like more success when you're planting your trees. So what she'd do, so she planted a tree, she would take all these different elements, such as even so far as dead animals. You know, you're in a forest, animals die, they decay. You got old leaves, you got old grass, vegetation, you got even like some rocks here and there, some sand, you know, all these different elements. And she'd throw all that stuff in there and kind of layer it in. Now she went way more sciencey about it. I'm not going to go that sciencey, but basically she'd throw all this stuff in there and it would be more successful. Now I'm planting a lot of trees today, so I don't have the means to be able to do that today, but you know, for like your fruit trees and stuff like that in your orchard, it's something that you should definitely look up. And I know I didn't give a very good description, but it is definitely something to check out if you're wanting to increase the success rate of your trees that you plant. And if I had more time and means, I would do that. And I have done that in the past for my orchard trees, and it does seem like they do a lot better. All right, pretty happy with that. Now we can get to planting. Okay, so here's our pawpaw trees from Chestnut Hill Whitetails. Here's our pawpaw trees from the conservation department. Kind of a significant difference in size, but you kind of plant these pretty much exactly the same way as the chestnuts. We're just kind of, they've got a pretty large taproot here too, and so where that auger bit made its big divot, I'm gonna try to get that taproot inside of there, and then make sure it's even with the ground, and then we'll just fill it all back in with this loose soil. I did forget to put the mycorrhizae around, but let's put it on top here. It'll soak in. All right, now we just got a few more to do, and then we're gonna throw our guard on here. Got it? Yep, just like that. And then we hope and pray. Got several holes through here, and then I got 3 down there, and then that should be it. I'd love to take a lot more care to do this, but we're kind of fighting. We got kids that are about to get off the bus, so we're kind of fighting for time here.